Rant number 6. This is going to be a series of rants that I'm doing, and I already have been doing, and we're just going to be going over things that I disagree with in MMA and things that could be changed. We're going to go right in there. We're going to go with Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. Everyone thinks Alexander Volkanovski won that fight. Personally, I don't. I think Islam Makhachev won that fight by a split decision. At best, the best result that Volkanovski could have got is a draw. I don't see how Volkanovski won that fight. I've watched that fight back multiple times. First few times I didn't try and score it. I just watched and tried basing the fight on visuals, and I still think Islam Makhachev won. Then I tried to point. These past couple of weeks, I've been trying to rewatch the fight, and I've been trying to do scorecards on it. And Islam Makhachev won all of them. He was a very, very close. I think Volkanovski got a couple of 10-8s. I don't think there was any 10-8s for Islam. Maybe one. But Islam won a majority of the rounds, and I saw a split decision win for Islam Makhachev. That's what I saw. I don't see how Volkanovski won that fight at all. Everyone's saying that Volkanovski wiped him. Everyone's saying Islam's washed. Volkanovski's nothing. Not Volkanovski, Islam's nothing. I just don't see how Volkanovski won that fight. Listen, I'm sure he's going to smash Yair Rodriguez, and I'm sure maybe even in the rematch, Volkanovski could batter him. Listen, I'm not a fan of the inbred. The inbred always win. I'm not a fan of the inbred Islam Makhachev. But that doesn't necessarily mean I didn't think he won. I'm not going to sit here and be biased. I thought Islam Makhachev won that fight pretty fair and square. Everyone that's saying Volk won are salty. And they're just, you've got to take the bias out of it. I've watched the fight without commentary as well, so it's not swaying in any direction. I've watched it without commentary, with commentary. I've watched it every possible fight outcome, and I don't see a world where Volkanovski won that fight. Volkanovski definitely impressed me. He's definitely give Islam Makhachev the toughest test on the feet, besides when he got knocked out cold. But apart from that, he's definitely give Islam Makhachev his toughest fight, but I just don't see a world where Volkanovski won that fight. He might have won a couple of rounds. In that last round, I'd say it was like a 10-8 in that last round to Volkanovski, but that just wasn't enough. He needed to do more of that. The first 2 rounds were dominantly Islam. Yeah, Islam Makhachev won that fight. The inbred strikes again. He won the fight. We just got to deal with it, man. We just got to cope with it. Like I said, I'm sure we'll see that rematch in the future, and maybe it'll be in a different, maybe it'll be in a different outcome. But saying that Volkanovski was robbed and that Volkanovski didn't deserve to lose, I've watched it back, and the best outcome Volkanovski could have got is a draw, and he still wouldn't have won the belt anyway. Even if it was a draw, he wouldn't have won the lightweight belt. So I still think Islam won that fight. I always probably will. But again, I'll be up for a rematch, and I'll be supporting Volkanovski because he doesn't marry his cousins. The next thing I want to rant about is it's a bit random, but the fact that fighters, I believe they're not allowed to walk out with flags anymore. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I believe these past couple of years, they've taken away the right to walk out with your own country's flags. I think it's just, why? Just let the fighters walk out with their flags. Back in like early 2010 era, you were allowed different side shorts. You were allowed as much sponsors as you want. You were allowed a banner. You were allowed to wear different certain clothing in the octagon. You could wear your flag. You could do all of this. Bro, Demetrius Johnson fought with a massive Xbox logo on his pants. Nowadays, you're not allowed any of that. They've taken away all of it. Fair enough, maybe the sponsors. If you're going to pay the fighters, then just take away the sponsors because you've got your own. But not letting them walk out with their country's flag. I mean, come on. What's better than seeing Tom Aspinall walk out with a massive British English flag, or Charles Oliveira with a Brazilian flag, or Islam Makhachev with an Russian flag? I don't understand. Just let the fighters walk out with their country's flag. I don't know, man. It feels like the UFC are kind of restricting the fighters' rights more and more and more as the years have gone on. First it was sponsors, then banners, then next thing you know, you can't walk out with the flag. I don't understand why. Apparently it was to do with the Russians, because of the Russian-Ukraine. They didn't want Russians to walk out with a flag. I don't know, man. But I just don't think, I don't agree with the decision that you shouldn't be able to walk out with a flag. Just let the fighters rep their own country. I don't get it. Just let the fighters rep their own country. It's a stupid decision. Dana White needs to let him do it again. I think some fighters might do it occasionally, but from what I know, you're not allowed to do it. And it's just ridiculous, man. Let them walk out with a flag. Let them rep their country. Instead of taking away everything they had, now they just... I don't know, man. It's like they're taking away everything the fighters once had. I know I keep bringing this up, but look at 2000s, 2010 era of MMA. How much rights the fighters had. You know, banners, sponsorships, whatever coloured shorts they were. They're allowed excess clothing, long shorts, small shorts. Look at boxing as well. I know boxing isn't just a company, it's a sport. But in most boxing companies, you're allowed to walk out with a flag. You're allowed to walk out with sponsors. I mean, Derek Chisora was walking out with OnlyFans on his T-shirt against Tyson Fury. At least just let the fighters walk out with the flags. At least just let them do that. Who cares? Just do it, man. I know it's a bit of a random rant, but it's just a bit annoying, like seeing fighters not being able to walk out with anything. I mean, what are you going to take away next? Just let them walk out with the flags, especially when they're in the home country and they want to rep it, like when it's Cyril Gane in France or Tom Aspinall in England or whatever it is. Just let them walk out with a flag and just, yeah. Next thing I'm going to comment on is recently the commentating just hasn't been great. Like, I was watching back Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori. I know that was pretty much a year ago, but it was recent enough. That fight, I think it was commentated by John Gooden. Why is John Gooden commentating? He's like a British analyzer. He should not be on commentary. We should have Dan Hardy back. So there was John Gooden. I think it was Michael Bisping and Paul Felder, a dynamic trio. There was times when Robert Whittaker was cracking Marvin Vettori in the jaw, and the crowd would go wild, and the commentators they'd wait like 5 seconds, and they'd be like, Robert Whittaker looks pretty good there. Michael Bisping is such a weird commentator, man. And Joe Rogan. Like, I think it was Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. The fight starts and they're swinging. They're like, you know, they're backing each other. They're swinging. I think Paulo Costa was like full on swinging and unloading on Yoel Romero. And Joe Rogan started going on about the fact that Yoel Romero's trained Taekwondo. No one cares. Commentate the fight. The best thing for if you're a commentator, just imagine that you're commentating the fight to a blind person. This blind person doesn't care if Yoel Romero has trained, you know, Taekwondo. They don't care. They want to be walked through the fight as it goes on. You know, if a leg kick's landed, tell them that a leg kick's landed. Don't start going. And Michael Bisping, I went up Pendle Hill the other day. Michael Bisping, no one cares that you've been up Pendle Hill. And DC as well. I've noticed this a lot. The reactions to knockouts are so forced. Like, it doesn't matter what the knockout is. If it's a trio of John Anik, Joe Rogan, and DC, what'll happen is most of the time, if it's like Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, for example, and Usman gets knocked out, DC will pull the most sad face you've ever seen. There's no reaction. He'll be like, oh my God, but he'll just pull a sad face. Joe Rogan just kind of pushes them away from him and has this like downs face that he always pulls. And John Anik just has a seizure on the mic. The commentating recently, it's just been so forced. It's like none of them really want to be commentators anymore. It's like they're fed up with it and they're just getting paid to do it now. We need some more commentators in, man. But we need some good commentators in. I don't mind the use of ex-fighters. I think Michael Chandler would be a great commentator, but obviously he's not retired yet. But yeah, there's just a lot of that Michael Bisping talking about going up Pendle Hill, or, you know, alliterations. What was that fight where it's like, what's an alliteration? We don't care what an alliteration is, Bisping. We're trying to be walked through the fight here. If I'm literally trying to focus on a fight and score it, I will have to turn commentary off, but most of the time I'll keep it on. But it's just been really weird recently. I'm not a fan of commentary. I don't know, it's just weird.